I was gonna cut this video by myself, but I was like, damn, you know what? Let me hit up my buddy JB and let's discuss this theory that I'm floating around in my head because this is a theory that just kind of hit me,
Mm-hmm.
and it was kind of an obvious one, but I don't think I've heard anyone really mention it. And I well, first of all, my theory is this: we've been hearing speculation of CM Punk, coming out of semi-retirement or whatever the hell he's in
For years though, but
for
that's been
several
for
years,
years.
several
Yeah.
years, and deep down inside, as a fan, or I knew that it would be at some point, whenever he decided to, I stopped really paying attention on it for like maybe third or fourth year he was out. I stopped paying attention. I was like, all right, he's clearly not.
Not doing it.
Yeah, he's not working an angle. He's not, this is real. He's really happy away from it. And God bless. So, now as years started to come along, obviously he started to get a little more, uh, you know, I guess the itch started to come back a little bit. The little reported rumor of him having the mask on at a little, local event. Uh, one of them little indie shows, and little things like that started to pop up. Little the what was that, the Starcast or Starfest or whatever the thing he showed up to out in Chicago to talk to the fans, and that was one of those things everybody speculated at that time. Like,
Yeah.
oh, he's coming. It's Chicago, all out's coming, blah blah blah. So fast track. Let's get out of that and let's get to the summer, right? So we all know. I mean, we all know. Listen, we all know this. As fans of CM Punk, we all know about one of the best angles that WWE ever had, which was they didn't name it that. The fans named it Summer of Punk. So we all know how that started. It started with the pipe bomb, and then all the way up until Money in the Bank, beating John Cena, so et cetera, et
Mm-hmm.
cetera. The big thing that everybody unanimously almost can agree with is that the way they booked him after that was god awful.
Well, of course.
Instead of carrying it on, having him leave the company, quote unquote, you should have had him really actually, quote unquote, leave the company because they already had him under contract when he, quote unquote, left. They had already worked out the deal, but they were working an angle. They should have kept that angle going for weeks. Like, oh man, CM Punk is popping up in Japan and he's carrying the belt all over the place. Like, if they had carried on that storyline, that could have just been so much more epic.
Yeah, but
But they
that's not
didn't.
Vince.
They brought him back in 2 weeks because they couldn't wait and they wanted to get that instant pop.
Mm-hmm.
And shortly after that, they jobbed him out to, like, I don't know. Kevin Nash came in and he lost the strap and all this other stuff. So we don't have to rehash Summer of Punk and how bad it ended. But my theory was this: all this time, Punk has been kind of contemplating, putting his toe in the water, and but not completely taking the plunge. I think what ultimately gave him that slight nudge into that water was when WWE came out themselves and coined John Cena's return as Summer of Cena. I'm convinced Punk is that petty. He's Phil
No, he
Brooks,
is.
the guy, is petty enough to really take that personally and use that as a device to finally push him over and back into the square circle. That's my theory. Because
No.
all of a sudden you're like, okay, we hear nothing. Nothing. Then all of a sudden, boom, Cena comes back. WWE has all the promos, all over SmackDown, all over Fox, everywhere. Summer of Cena. I mean, they got it all over fucking FS1 Sports, everything. Summer of Cena. Punk has to be sitting at home. He's already talking to AEW, but maybe he's coming back, maybe he's not. Because they always was saying that. Tony Khan was
No,
always
he's
saying,
he's coming back to AEW, and
no, no, no. We
that's
we know that. We know that
okay.
now. But I'm saying Tony Khan has always hinted, like, yeah, whenever he wants. Like, You know what I'm saying? So Punk has always had that in his back pocket. So my thing is this: I think he didn't really take it seriously until probably recently, until they started running those promos, and they said, "Oh well, you know what? I got something for you. You want to call it Summer of Punk? How about this? We're still in the summer, and guess what? We have a big show coming. That's going to be where? In my hometown of Chicago. And guess where? I mean, not just that. It's the goddamn summer. So I got your Summer of Cena. I'll take that right back where it belongs, back to Summer of Punk. So that's 2.0. So that's my little theory I was floating in my head. Like, man, this guy, he's petty enough to use that little bit to push him over the edge and say, you know what? Screw it. I'm doing this. Call up Tony Khan. Let's make it happen. So that's my little theory. What do you think?
I mean, I can see that. I think does Cena push it? Probably. He is petty. He's always been petty. Him and Vince have had that relationship where,
like, Vince really don't like him.
Yeah, and he really doesn't like Vince. And I'm so shocked that he was working, even though it was with what was it a Fox that
it
was connection they had with WWE, and he's just somebody in the
it was
in
a
the
Fox
back end.
controlled. Yeah, it was a Fox controlled show.
Yeah.
You're talking about, what is that? Fox.
I know it's one of those.
But
Fox. I'm still surprised that he actually did it because, it's connected to WWE, and him and Vince just really straight out don't like each other. It's just
I think it was him. I think it was him probably. Well, anyway, continue.
Well, so I was surprised with that. Honestly, I think maybe he did know about Summer Cena and so on, and maybe that gave him a little bit of the edge to do the whole AEW. But I also feel like he was waiting to really see, because he is that type of guy. A lot of people love CM Punk. I'm not a big fanatic of CM Punk. I do like what he brings to the table, though. In the ring, and his promos are, I can't lie, they're great. But I think the Cena pushed him, but I think he was waiting for AEW to see what AEW is gonna do. He hates WWE. He hates Vince. He hates it. That's it. I'm flat out. He hates Vince. So he's seeing that everybody is semi-jumping ship from WWE and going to AEW. And he's seeing that the hype is getting real. Now they're going to have a Friday show on TNT on the day of my birthday.
Nice.
Which it's going to be like, okay, so they're going to have two programs. So they're really competing with WWE. He probably wants to do that whole, like Daniel Bryan wants to travel to Japan and have that open market where he can go from one show to another. You know what I'm saying? So I think that is also the push. But you're right. I think the Summer Cena, and his pettiness and his hatred for Vince, it's gonna overshadow WWE.
It was just that. I think it was just that little bit of that
little nudge.
Yeah, that little knife, that little tiny. It was like a tiny pin knife into the gut. I mean, into the ribs, and he was just like, "All right, fuck it. I'm all in. Yeah,
Yep.
I'm all in, quote unquote, which is, the pay-per-view is All Out. So it's very interesting, and I can't not mention Punk without mentioning Daniel Bryan or Bryan Danielson.
Man. Yes.
It's the Dragon, Bryan Danielson.
Yep.
So before all this Punk madness started up again, it was reports running rampant that Bryan Danielson, his Daniel Bryan, his contract out with the WWE, and then now all of a sudden, he's gonna really, really, live his fantasy of traveling and wrestling
to Japan and
and all knew the obvious choice is AEW because they have relationships with all of those organizations. So
which is smart.
which is smart. And so this is how you get guys. And so Daniel Bryan Danielson is rumored to be coming back during their New York show at the end of September. think of the 25th, and that's going to be at Wembley Stadium. So,
Okay.
for you golfers out there, so that is going to be interesting in itself. I mean, these dudes, man, I'm telling you, and the thing is, I know that everyone's going to look at it as like, not everyone, but hardcore WWE fans may look at it like, oh, you guys are no different than WCW, or you're
TNA.
yeah, or TNA, and it's okay. I get your mindset, but you have to kind of add some context to it. Like even Aleister Black, now Malachi Black, like
Mm-hmm.
these guys were indie guys. Like
Yeah.
WWE took them. Punk had his name when he got there. How did he get his name? From the indies. You don't get to keep your name if you weren't any good on the indies. You keep your
That's true.
name. WWE, that's the first thing they do is change his name.
Yeah.
And these guys, the Samoa Joes, the AJ Styles, the CM Punks, these guys specifically, they were already stars when they got there. Daniel
Mm-hmm.
Bryan was a star before he got there. He was going by Bryan Danielson, obviously his real name,
Yeah.
but these guys were established in the Indies already. So yeah, the WWE polished them up a little bit more, and and give them that exposure to more households, obviously. But that doesn't take away from the fact that they were not homegrown guys. They were
Mm-hmm.
not guys that the WWE built and constructed. So the fact that the AEW and a lot of these guys had, Kenny Omega has had matches with Bryan Danielson, Punk, and all these guys have wrestled each other in the Indies. You know what I mean? Like, or have relationships already. So this is not the same. This is not those WCW days. This is a whole
Yeah.
different era.
But
AEW's.
don't forget, WCW didn't have what they have now. Well, if WCW was alive now, they probably would be winning that whole Monday Night War type of thing. If it was today. Back then, Vince he had the money. He still has the money, but he had the money. He was smart with his decision making. Back then, he could do storylines. He can't do storylines for nothing now. Roman Reigns is the only thing keeping WWE alive at the moment.
Man, he
The
he's
only thing, and
he's keeping those lights on right now.
that's that. I'm sorry to tell you. I
Man,
mean,
listen.
he is.
And him,
He,
the only reason why I watch now is because of him and Bobby Lashley. That's
yeah,
that's the only reason why I watch. Is
but you know
those two
what
guys.
though? Bobby Lashley, yes,
Lashley's been great, man.
but they
He's
had
had
to
a
give
run.
him something else. There's nobody out there. It's like, who can
You're
he
not a
go against?
you're
That's
not a
the
fan of
problem.
you're not
No,
not a
I'm a fan of Bobby. That's the
Bill.
problem.
Like the
Like
booking decision to bring Bill.
listen, I like Goldberg,
Old
man.
man Bill.
Listen. Back in the day, I love Goldberg. That
I
spear,
mean, listen.
that was the best.
I
Other
was a
than like
Goldberg
Edge
mark.
and all that, I love Goldberg. That freaking jackhammer.
I mean,
Let's. He was the great one at WCW.
he
Let's
was
not
the
get it
alpha.
twisted.
He
He
was the head out.
was. And the fact that a lot of wrestlers didn't like to wrestle with him because he just when he got in the ring he actually when he hit he
Was hurt.
hit you know what I'm saying, but which
And he was
I
green and goose
guess
shit too.
exactly, but you know what though, it wasn't polished. You see what I'm saying? He brought that edge and you couldn't tell the difference when you're fighting Bill because of that. Yes, other wrestlers didn't like it, and I get it, you know what I'm saying, you can get hurt, but he still brought that. It looks real, it looks raw, like holy shit.
And
But now
that's what keeps asses in the seat. So bring asses to.
exactly, but again, you're bringing Bill Goldberg right now for Lashley. Like, no, we're as much as I can't stand Brock, I want a Brock. Or shit, give me Braun Strowman and him. They had a little run. And then Vince just I don't know what Vince did.
Well,
But It was a
See,
nice little run.
this is what's happening though with the WWE though, and that's a good question you asked. I don't know what's happening or whatever. The thing, and I've been sitting back and I've been kind of thinking about it too, and it's like they're having the classic symptoms of every other corporation that get as big as they get. They're just too big at this point. Like it's at the point now where they're letting go wrestlers, and not everyone is on the same page, far as on an executive level. Like there's an actual, and this is a whole other thing I want to do, and we'll probably do a different video for this on another day,
Yeah.
and I talk about. I want to really, really think it through, and I want to talk about like the obvious war within the company. Like I think Vince and Hunter is at war, like real war.
Well, of
Like
course. I mean,
like
it's written.
I mean, you could see it. Like now,
Yeah.
it was before. It was like, whatever. Let's give you a shot. Let's do this. Now there's a real rift in the fabric with those two creatively and just it seems respectfully because a lot of those cuts, some of those cuts, Hunter was not happy about, and he was public about it. And
Yeah.
usually he's a company guy. He's gonna put the sugar and spice on top. But lately he's been on some real like nah, like the Samoa Joe release, he was livid. Like he
Yeah.
called Joe personally and was like, bruh, I don't know what happened here, but let me tell you this, I'ma fix it. 1 second. And Joe ass was right back at the WWE like this.
I
Because
mean,
Hunter had to pull some string.
I'll be honest with you. I honestly think Vince is scared of what Hunter is his creative mind is. Vince is scared. Vince don't want that. Vince is so stuck in the old days where little promos out there, promotion companies who are independent wrestlers, and like you said, they used to wrestle one another, but then he would bring them over there, polish it up, make them two big names, and if you wasn't a big name, he'll just put you under the
To the
rug, and
curb.
nothing will happen. Now it's like you can't, because you have a company like AEW, which, listen, man, I enjoy watching it. Now, I will tell you this though, their man wrestlers are amazing in AEW. Now their women wrestlers are starting to build up, because I still feel like WWE, when it comes to the women wrestlers, they're in the top.
Oh, no doubt.
They're in the
Listen,
top.
we know they have the talent.
They got the
They
talent.
just don't have the drive or motivation to put that talent in, or maybe they just don't know. Maybe they just don't know how anymore to put that
It's just,
talent in a proper to
I
make them
think they
shine.
do. It's Vince.
Yeah,
It starts from the top.
it's this. Listen,
I think if Hunter takes over, it'll be a full circle, and it will just be a very complete organization.
I think that dude. I always remember that quote by that dude Scaramucci that was in the Trump administration in the beginning. I can't remember his first name. Last name Scaramucci. He
Okay.
said, "Fish rots from the top down, right? And it means it starts with the head of the fish, and it rots to the bottom. And when you brought up Vince, that's what it is.
So, at the moment, AEW is building. I'm gonna tell you this right now. WWE better not let go of some of those women wrestlers. I'm just saying that right now, because AEW, for me, AEW, their man brand is giving the edge to me. Is giving the edge to WWE. Again, we say Roman, and if they bring back the Fiend and Bobby Lashley, you got three. Granted, we're not even talking about tag team, because I actually like how they do their tag team and their single wrestlers in AEW. They have like that what I'm saying, the wins and losses to build you up to get that. Where
I like it.
WWE is like, oh, what I'm saying, if you're hot this moment, you're
Yeah.
gonna get the title.
And we're gonna regurgitate the same feuds over and over and over and over every single week.
Yeah. So where in AEW you can have your own feuds between different little groups, but yet when it comes to the titles, it's up who has the wins
And
and losses.
I kind of like the little triple tags they be doing, or the tags.
Yes.
all four teams and they tagging out and it's chaos and it's different. And I don't like to see it
Yes.
all the time, but it's different. It mixes it up and it gets everybody on TV, which is the
It
goddamn point.
does.
It's get
Yes.
people
Yes.
over. You
That
want new stars, can't have new stars if you're not putting, those stars in the right place to see or to be tested. Like it's like beta testing, right? You want
it
people to
is.
test out before you actually launch the product. In order to do that, you have to give people access to that goddamn product.
And they
So
were doing it without no fans. Now they're
yeah,
bringing the fans, and now you're actually going to really see. I mean, they had fans, but I'm talking about like now you're actually really, really having the fans from different, cities. So now you're gonna get a better view from it. But again, WWE, don't let those females go. You let those
yo,
females go, it's a complete circle at AEW. It's a
listen,
complete circle, and
that's a good point, and I
it's a
don't think
complete circle.
yeah, and that's a good point you mentioned because I don't think that's being highlighted because we
No,
always kind of focus on the big stars, the male stars, so they
yeah.
get most of the attention, whether that's
Mm-hmm.
right or wrong. Well, it's wrong because the
Well,
women there are some women that are stars. Like they should get,
yeah.
like WWE has those stars where it's like, yeah, these are stars on their, they've already main evented some of their women.
You know what I'm
So
saying? Don't let them
um
go. You let them.
exactly.
It's gonna be a problem. Even the female wrestlers in the NXT, which you know they could be something on Raw or SmackDown, but if they let go and they go to AEW, I mean, you know,
They and before I forget,
whew,
AEW did something I was very happy that they did when we were talking before, and I said I hope they
mhm.
get her. They got Thunder Rosa. They finally got her,
It
and
was
they
funny.
they
It happened the
literally
day
they
after.
literally yes they literally bought her out of the
Or
NWA
was it
contract.
was the
That's
NWA, right? Yes, it
so
was
she
NWA.
so they because they didn't want to
It's full
wait
time.
because her contract was going to expire at the end of the year with the NWA
Hmm.
organization, but they already have a great relationship with Billy Corgan. Isn't that crazy? We grew up when the Smashing Pumpkins was hot. We
Yep.
grew we were outside. We were in school. I think it was middle school when they were hot.
Middle,
And and
seventh
and,
grade.
and the lead singer of the Smashing Pumpkins, Billy Corgan, owns one of the most historically traditional wrestling organizations in American history, and that's NWA. And if you would have thought that 20 years ago or whatever,
You
you
would
would
have
have been like,
been
yeah,
nah.
right. Smashing Pumpkins. But that just tells you people live and breathe this. Like
Yeah.
it's a wrestling culture is a big deal in a lot of people's households. As you grew up, you didn't really have a lot to do. The biggest
Hmm.
stars were wrestlers, man. We didn't know what the hell the actors' names were. We didn't
No.
know unless you were Stallone or Arnold or those
That's it.
guys.
No, that's pretty
That's
much
it.
it.
We didn't
That's it.
know, or the comedians that we liked. Like I was a
Robin
big Martin fan,
Williams.
and Will Smith, and like. But other than that, you didn't really know any names of actors. Like you didn't know these guys, the Tom Cruises, and you didn't know them
No.
by name. But
You
wrestlers,
knew about
they
movies.
were the
That's all.
biggest stars. They were the biggest
Yeah.
stars. They was bigger than the movie stars. Like back then when we grew up. So it's interesting to kind of have that nostalgia sometimes. When it's done right. You know.
Listen, at the end of the day, we sit here and we think, what is WWE
Well, wait,
doing
wait,
right?
but to get back to the summer of Cena.
Because that's what I was getting at. Because the only reason why,
Where?
I
How
mean,
is
you
this gonna end?
need. Well, we already know he's hyping The Rock.
Yeah.
Let's get that. He's gone on Twitter, which is obviously gone on his Instagram and so on. He wants he wants The Rock back. Now, let's be honest. Do we know if he wants The Rock back or is it Vince? Because again, this is scary.
Vince. He's
AEW
speaking for Vince.
is exact because AEW is blowing up. And the only way
A
to try
little
to get
quicker. I think a little quicker than Vince even thinks.
well,
Like
listen, it
I
would
don't
have
think
been
Hunter is surprised by anything
it would
that's
have been
happening. I don't think
quicker.
Hunter is surprised.
Listen, Vince should be happy COVID happened. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. If
he should have
COVID didn't happen,
took advantage, but he didn't.
if COVID didn't happen, this conversation should have happened last summer. Because AEW is what, 2 years, give or take? About 2 years, going on 3 years.
Yeah.
And because they started, I think, in 2019.
Yeah.
You know, around either the second half of the year or going into the third,
No, it
fourth
was around
quarter.
October. I remember. It was around October.
Yeah, so it was like third quarter of 2019.
Mm-hmm.
So
and then boom,
and then COVID happened.
Yep.
So if COVID didn't happen, let's be honest, AEW would have just flew. It would have rocket. So Vince,
it just prolonged it a little bit.
Yeah, it did. It prolonged it, and maybe, to be honest with you, maybe it did help AEW because of those contracts that expired and so on.
Yep.
But again, now the fans are coming back. So you need John Cena. My son loves John Cena. That's his boy. You know, he loves the Fiend. He's starting to like Roman. But in the end of the day, Hogan is always going to be my number one. Okay? But my number two is The Rock. You really want to sell seats. You really want to bring everybody back, especially if AEW is going to compete with SmackDown on Fridays. Because you already know The Rock show, SmackDown. So, he's coming back for SummerSlam, 25th year anniversary of The Rock's first appearing in WWE. So, we already see the headlines. You got Summer Cena, the return of the People's Champ. And the storylines is perfect for The Rock. You know, his cousin, Roman, head of the table. I can see it.
So I'm thinking of this. I'm trying to like book a couple scenarios in my head as you're talking.
I already got 2 scenarios off rip. I mean, listen.
All right.
You got The Rock. If you bring The Rock back, first of all, I don't think Cena won't. I think Cena's not going to be there full time. We all know both of them won't.
Well, yeah, obviously, he's out of here.
I think Cena right now, after SummerSlam, he's
going to take another break. When is Peacemaker releasing?
In 2022, but you have Suicide in August.
Yeah.
So this is what I'm saying. I think he's coming. SummerSlam, taking a little bit of break because
because he's got a promo Suicide Squad, and then he's got to start promoting Peacemaker.
Exactly. Oh. So SummerSlam takes off. He goes back to his promos of the movies, and then now you got The Rock. The Rock is gonna his newer movies are not gonna be till next year. Cena won't. The Rock has that quote unquote time off from Hollywood, but what I can see is Rock comes back. You know, maybe him and Roman just talk. You know, maybe he gives Roman a compliment of being the head of the table. You know, you got the family right there. And guess what? Roman being Roman, backstabs The Rock. Sends the Usos out at him. You know, after him beating whoever is going to be at SummerSlam. Because I don't know if he's really going to go after Cena or if he's going to go after Finn Balor. It's still a toss-up. That's how they're doing it. I think he's going to go after Cena. I think, you know, Cena and Roman, or it's going to be a triple threat.
I got an idea.
Go.
Damn, you kind of helped it. All right, there's 3 scenarios now. All right. Damn, don't forget the third scenario in my head. So
get all your scenarios out.
Yeah, the first scenario obviously is that, you know, I think Cena is obviously hyping The Rock because Rock is up next to come after. He's going to go down to Roman. I don't know how that's going to happen. Roman might get disqualified. It might be whatever, right? Now, what WWE would ideally like, which I don't know if The Rock has the time to even do it. I don't even know if he has the time to even be at SummerSlam. You know what I'm saying?
He does.
So it's like
he already made he kind of hinted himself.
Where are they anyway? Where is SummerSlam? What city? Is it in the South?
I don't even know. Hold on.
Yeah, I don't remember if it's in the South or. or if it's up north.
Vegas.
It's in Vegas. All right. So, it depends on what The Rock's doing. If he's in Cali in that, that day, because that's a short fly over there. I mean, private jet, that's an hour and a half flight, maybe hour. Yeah, hour and a half from LA to Vegas. If it's a private jet.
Listen, man, he has his time off right now. He ain't doing nothing.
So now the scenario is Cena gets jumped, Rock comes in and saves him, right?
That's one.
Major pop, like because no one's really expecting The Rock to show up, right? I mean, we have our suspicions, obviously, as people who follow us a little closely, but the average fan sitting at home is no one thinking that he's showing up, right? So the obvious scenario for the WWE is like, yo, have built, name drop The Rock a little bit. Cena's been doing that on social media and stuff like, oh, I'd love to see him show up again as a fan. And
And they're hinting the 25th anniversary through social media. So that's a lot of their own promotions.
Yeah. So you
fans are doing it. The fans are doing it.
Yeah. You come in, Rock, you guys have a great match or whatever, but then the Usos come in and whatever, because I don't think they're gonna let. I think they might protect. I think they'll probably protect Cena, because that's what the WWE's always done. So I think
they're gonna screw him over
Roman's
anyways.
probably gonna get like, DQ'd or something, and I think that's what it's gonna happen. I think it's gonna be a DQ finish, and I think The Rock will come in and make the save, as the Usos and them are beating them down.
Okay.
And
so what's your second?
And now we're building up. We're building up the eventual appearance of The Rock, right? Because let's be real, we all want they want WrestleMania. WWE wants WrestleMania. They wanted it this year, but they couldn't have it because of COVID. But they wanted, or last year they wanted it, or whatever. I think it's this year for sure they wanted it, and The Rock and everything. So now next year SummerSlam comes up. I mean, WrestleMania comes up. They're building up The Rock making his return. He makes another appearance, maybe in Royal Rumble or some shit. Who knows? I think ultimately, remember with a tag team idea, we were like, maybe they'll split up the Usos and then Rock will join one of the Usos. They can do that.
I still don't think that's gonna happen.
Or since you brought up the Cena dynamic, and you join Rock with Cena to go
They've
against
done it already.
Jay and because Jimmy is not the A player on Jimmy's got his own issue. It'll be Jay Roman versus Cena and Rock, right? But here's this. I don't know if he'll do it, but it'll be awesome if he did it. The heel turn, the Rock heel turn happens because it's all about family. It's all about family. It's all about the bloodline. And The Rock turns. Now, the superhero he's supposed to play is supposed to be this cult of personality character.
Well, he's not really a superhero. He's more of a villain. He becomes a hero later down his path.
That is the essence of what a cult of personality means, right? So Rock is a guy that could build that, right? Because Black Adam is coming. Like what? WrestleMania will probably be April. Black Adam's coming in a couple months after, 2-3 months after that. So maybe you go there, you do the bloodline angle. Now it's like, oh shit, Rock just turned on Cena. Oh, you got the Raw right after. They love the Raw after WrestleMania. That is like their biggest Raw.
Yeah.
What bigger Raw would that be? If you didn't see what happened at WrestleMania, The Rock turning on fucking John Cena to help Roman Reigns. Yo, that would be
that would be a good heel turn. See,
will they do it though?
See, it will be good, but like, see, for me,
I'm
thinking Roman though, because Roman is taking a lot of his, creativity right now. He's doing a lot of his own creativity, and Roman, I'm looking at his character, right? he is the head of the table. You know what I'm saying? He
Yeah.
he is that. I don't see him wanting, keyword, wanting The Rock to be in his bloodline as far as part of the table. See, that's why how I see it playing out.
Interesting.
SummerSlam, right?
Mhm.
Again, it's gonna be a triple threat because Cena is pushing the match that he wants Roman. Roman is like, nah, you're not good enough. You're part time. Blah 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 blah. He'll rather have Finn because Finn is, not part time. He's full time, and I like Finn. I love it, especially when he comes out as a demon. Oh, I love that. So I can see it. Finn, Roman, Cena, SummerSlam. Cena's gonna get in one way or another. The Rock is not part of the match. He's just there, 25th anniversary, whatever. Roman wins. I think I don't think it's gonna be a DQ. I think will the Usos play a part of the win?
That's what I was gonna ask.
Yeah.
Will Roman go over clean or
Roman will go over clean as far as beating, I say, Cena. I think the Usos will play a part of Finn if it's a triple threat of Finn not being able to get in the
that's
ring.
interesting. So you think they're gonna protect Finn? Because that would be
Yeah.
protecting.
I think they were going to protect Finn because again, Cena has to go. He has to do his promotion. So
That's interesting. Yeah,
to
it doesn't
protect
hurt
Cena,
it doesn't
it
hurt
doesn't
Cena.
hurt. I mean, it hurts Cena as far as the fact that he's never gonna be tied with Ric Flair. They're protecting Ric Flair. See, that's how I'm looking at it. They're always gonna protect Ric. Because Cena is what? One title away from tying
One
it, right?
title.
One
No, he's
title.
tied.
Oh, he's okay, yeah. So he's
When he
one
beat AJ,
exactly. So he's
he's
one
tied.
title to break it. So
Yep.
they're not gonna do that. So that's what I'm saying. I think in overall they're protecting Ric. Now, this is how I see it. Roman beats Cena. He gets on that mic, he's gonna talk all that smack, saying, "Now you acknowledge me." Because remember, Cena's talking all that smack. Here comes The Rock. Part of the fam, again, he's not part of the match. The match is over. Now you see The Rock coming, and he's gonna raise Roman's hand, right? Because they're cousins. And boom. And The Rock, and they're gonna look at each other, and The Rock's gonna have that Rock look, and have that smile, and pat Roman probably in the chest, and Roman's just gonna be like, and then maybe smile, and then The Rock will probably turn around, and that's when he will let the Usos jump The Rock. Boom, family feud. Family feud.
And what does that do? That increases Roman's heat.
Exactly, because what's gonna
Because
happen is
you don't want Roman to be the bad guy, but he's the good guy. You don't want that. That's what happens. They run into trouble a lot like that in WWE. So you gotta have Roman do foul shit because in the end, he's supposed to be hated. So that would be a good thing.
And then guess what? The Rock's on the floor. The Usos pick him up, and you just on Roman.
Oh, the shield.
The
shield.
I'm the head of the table.
Yeah.
This is my ring. Because remember, The Rock is gonna the crowd's just gonna be Rock.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And Roman's not gonna want that. It's his time. He won.
It's his time.
It's his time.
So it's his time.
Exactly, when the Usos jump him and they pick him up because The Rock's gonna be like this. Acknowledge me. Boom. You know what I'm saying?
Now you're off.
Away,
now you're building that because Rock's gone for a while. You don't know when he's coming back.
Or The Rock will probably show up either Raw or SmackDown following the SummerSlam and maybe have a little conversation about Roman, right? Mm-hmm. Roman will come out, probably not going to go to the ring. Paul Heyman's going to probably tell him, no, stay. And then with his little smirk, smile, and be like, I don't know, you're not worthy or whatnot, like he says to Cena. and walks away. Okay. Now it's like it's kind of subtle. I forgot what is it. The next main event is what after SummerSlam. It's not Royal
What are
Rumble.
they doing? What are they
I
doing?
forgot.
It's gonna be one of those weird pay-per-views. Probably one of those
Yeah,
off-brand pay-per-views.
but you can see you still have the Family Feud. Everybody's gonna be wondering, and then it's gonna get closer to to WrestleMania, and then you're gonna have The Rock. They'll come back, or The Rock may be doing his little promos in between with Raw and SmackDown, like how Cena's doing. But that's just how I see it. Because in the end of the day, and they're gonna put no offense, they're gonna pull over Roman. I could actually see The Rock winning the title in one of those little pay-per-view matches. Winning the title, you know what I'm saying? And then the rematch happens. Just think about the rematch. The first battle is gonna be good. If The Rock wins, okay.
It's a good point.
And then Roman's just gonna
But
be
that would be,
frustrated.
in my opinion, that would be that Roman will get the strap. You could build that up at Royal Rumble too.
Yeah, but
He
I think
takes
he will
off
get he will
Roman, and then they build
puts
up
it on
the
The
rest.
Rock. Yeah, you put it on The Rock. Now Rock's back to be the people's champ. Roman's on this freaking mayhem because I could just see him losing it. You know, maybe he's really going at the Usos saying that you didn't have my back, you didn't acknowledge me, blah 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 blah. Kind of doing what they did with the Hurt Business. You know what I'm saying? With Bobby Lashley going after him, but not tearing up the bloodline. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then WrestleMania comes, and then he regains his title.
That's interesting.
Or he just keeps his title throughout the whole thing. But if
Yeah.
they're gonna take the strap out of Roman, what better person than his older cousin, The Rock?
Well,
And
here's a
then
nice,
get
interesting.
that rematch to get him back. And now you acknowledge me.
Mm-hmm.
And then The Rock, just like what happened with Hogan, stand out, passes the torch.
Yeah.
Black Adam
That
comes, there goes The
yeah.
Rock.
Yeah. So as you can hear, we done broke down many scenarios that could potentially happen after the summer of Cena madness is done. With Cena, and just to segue to the Rock, I mean to Punk real quick. I could definitely see the WWE keeping. Now we're at a war now of pettiness now.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Remember, I started this video with talking about how I just watching Punk from a distance, not knowing the dude from anything.
Mm-hmm.
He is that guy. He's got that Aaron Rodgers kind of attitude. They take things personally.
Aaron took it from him. Let's get it
Yeah,
right.
you know what I mean? Yeah.
All right.
Those are they're like similar guys, right?
Yeah.
So I think in this situation, I think that there's going to be now because now I bring this up because I think Vince definitely I thought that it was a good shot that Roman would carry the strap for a while to get past CM Punk's uh modern day era record or whatever of
Yeah.
300 something.
Which I
Now he
can't believe he took that, by the way. I mean,
now Vince has every incentive to keep the strap on Roman because
oh
I
yeah.
think Roman is getting close to that. I think once you get to about
He's
hell, what
almost
did
a
he win
year.
it?
He has 300 and it has to be 330 something days now. It's coming up to a year. Because there was
Yeah,
320 days when the last what was it? What was the last main event? Money in the Bank.
yes.
And I think they
So
were
the
saying that it
Fiend,
was like 320.
he took the strap off. Who did
The
Roman take the
Fiend
strap? The Fiend. But he was
last
protected.
year.
Yeah, who did? How did he? Wait, wasn't that a triple threat or something?
I know one of his matches
Darn it.
was I know one of his matches was um what you call it?
It wasn't Brock. Drew McIntyre. It wasn't Drew.
It was a triple threat. I honestly don't
I
I
don't
just
remember,
don't know
but
who it was.
it's been about a year.
Oh, Braun Strowman. He had a triple threat
Strowman,
with Braun Strowman.
and yeah, and then he went over on Strowman, I think, because they were protecting Bray. But
Yeah.
I think yeah. That's almost been a year, I think.
That's I told you. It's
So
coming
yeah,
up to a
almost
year.
yeah. So yeah, they have every incentive to have him hold the strap at least up until WrestleMania or whatever, because now they have the extra incentive of like, oh, you coming back? Oh, guess what? We got something else up our sleeves. We
Mm-hmm.
gonna we're gonna have Roman beat your little record too.
And again,
This is gonna be interesting. Look, I'm for this pettiness, by the way, because this
oh, of
is like
course.
this is gonna be. I don't think anybody's paying attention to this. This is why the whole point of me. I just said, man, I have to just say this.
Don't forget though. We're also talking about Vince is letting Roman be Roman right now, which Chris Jericho,
Choice it.
which Chris Jericho and everybody everywhere is really acknowledging. Can't speak right now. Acknowledging how great Roman is doing. And come on, let's be honest. There's really nobody out there that I can see on that roster, and it better not be Brock. I'm going to say that right now. That can take the title away from Roman, other than The Rock. That's just my opinion. I want to see that because what bigger? I'm looking at it as wrestling fans, and I feel like we were at our
It's like
teenage
born into it.
years, we were in our prime with the war between both WCW and WWE. And we all know when you're up in that ladder, up in the mountain, right? And you just, you're the king. You're the king. We all know when you're a king and you have all this power and then the belt's taken away from you, you go crazy, especially when you're in a group. You know what I'm saying? Like how the NWO and stuff. What
Mm-hmm.
better way to have The Rock take it from Roman and then having Roman lose it and
Yeah, I
turn
mean,
because he wants the belt. He wants the belt. The belt is his. Look what happened with AJ Styles when he had the belt, right? And he lost it. He went crazy. He turned. He wanted it back. Hogan, all these other people. Why not let it be Roman? And Roman could probably twist it even better than all these others in the past
oh
because
yeah.
it's Roman Reigns.
Yeah, and he is right into he is all the way in his bag right now and all the way in his element. So it like I said, it's gonna be really interesting to see how these storylines are gonna play out and how
Yeah, I
Cena
mean, he
plays
can't lose it.
a part of this.
Yeah, he can't lose it to
We
Cena.
all
I
think that
swear.
Cena is or we all believe Cena should be a plot device for
The
Roman
Rock.
and Rock. That should be common sense booking.
Now, let me ask you a
Whether
question
they do that or not is going to be
to determine.
yeah to be
Now,
determined. TBD.
let's I'm gonna try to how can I say this? Let's talk about Cena real quick because I feel in recent years, especially when he was full time, I feel like Vince shitted on him. I honestly feel that he should have beaten Ric Flair's record. Personal opinion, I feel like he should have beaten Ric Flair's record. Ric Flair's a legend. I get it. Look how long that record has been. You
I'll
know?
I'll I'll fight back on that.
Well,
I I think Vince wanted it to happen, but I think what happened is that it grew such a bad you know how like in politics they poll the general consensus of people.
yeah.
It drew such bad publicity within their own fans that they've been really reluctant at when to do it or if they'll even do it. Where it
Because
at one point it was like going, it was like everyone kind of knew it. It was like, yeah, he's gonna do it. But people as of late have, as the last like, few years, Cena was in his, you know, decade of destruction. burying everybody and known to mankind.
Yeah.
People started to say, all right, fam, like, look, you can't, this is for us, the real wrestling fans, not this bullshit sports entertainment crap that you invented, Vince, so you can be a billionaire. Not that. I'm talking about pro wrestling. Rick got that because we looked at Rick always as a pro wrestler first.
Correct.
And Rick would consider himself a pro wrestler first. A lot of the greats that we love, they consider themselves pro wrestlers first. So, you know, I mean, what do you do with that? You know, I mean, Vince has his own way of what he perceives wrestling
to be
is and should be.
I get. I mean, like I said, I do get
that. He kind of dictates. Oh, he used to. Now, you know, as last, like we've been talking about EW and all these other companies, last few years or so, it's not the same, and that it's not that way. And I think it's a large part of his own doing. Like he's legitimately destroying his own company within.
Yeah, because you're not gonna get somebody close to that record. You're not. You're really not. And I think Cena to
Randy,
get where he's who?
Randy's close. I think Randy's at 14.
Yeah, but again, when Cena,
I think they're gonna have. This is what's gonna happen. And when you think about it, after the show, after the Money in the Bank show, and we kind of did the pre-show thing, and I didn't share the pre-show only because I think we did it too late, and this was like, why share it at this point? But it dawned on me at that moment when we was talking. I said, you know, my opinions about the Charlotte Flair and Rhea Ripley booking. You know how strong I was about that, and of course they did what I thought they would do because they're not very great at what they do today in the WWE. And it dawned on me in that moment. I said, oh, that makes sense. They're gonna have Charlotte break her father's record. That makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
I don't agree with it, but it's obvious at this point. She's at 12 or some shit like that. I forgotten how many titles reigns.
To be honest with you, if I'm not mistaken, she's either at 12 or even 14 if you're including NXT.
Yeah, but they're not going to count NXT. They're just going to count the main roster.
So then she's 12.
So she's at 12. And I think I heard them say that when she won. And I said, oh, that's what they're doing. They're going to have her beat it. And then when she beat it, then they're going to put John over.
You see.
They're so predictable.
I mean, John should have had it a long time ago.
It's sad how predictable this is. You cannot run a company this way. Yeah. You can't. All these inflated numbers that they keep putting out with all these little TV deals and all that and all this, it's all bullshit. It's all inflated. It's like the stock market. When you inflate a stock, with all this, you know, false hype, that's what Vince has been doing. The product has not improved. And he's getting billions of dollars, which credit to him as a businessman. But at some point, the jig is going to be up. And these corporate heads are going to look and they're going to say, this shit's not that good. And they're going to start seeing the trend shift a little bit. And they don't need a big shift. The Peacocks of the world, and who just cut them another billion or whatever for this WWE network crap. And I think Vince is secretly trying to sell this company, but that's a whole nother story. I want to save that for my Hunter versus Vince video, whatever. Because think about it. Look at all of these weird layoffs. You've never made more money. Never in the history of your existence you've made more money. But you're laying people off? Why? You know why? Because when a company is starting to set themselves up for an acquisition, this is what they do. You know me, man. I followed the tech business for over 10 years. This is the same shit. Every company do the same type of thing. They start cutting and making those cuts to trim. They trim the quote unquote fat. they trim it down so it's nice and lean,
wrong fat, bro.
and then they can ever because think about it. Look at all of these weird.
See,
You know, so I think that that's
I can't.
a very dangerous ground that they're laying down for.
Unless he's really Vince, I'm talking about that damn petty does
But
not
I'm not
want.
gonna go. I'm not gonna jump back too deep into my other theories about that, but that's what I would love to touch on down the road. But
Yeah, we
but
definitely gotta get on that subject. We gotta
yeah,
bring in chat for that, but because
yeah,
that,
yeah, but,
I got,
yeah,
I'll bite my tongue. I'll
bring in
bite my
chat.
tongue on that.
Yeah,
Then.
yeah, I definitely would love to chat in for that because just on the just to talk the business side of
Yeah,
it.
I'll
Um,
bite my tongue on that then.
yeah, but on the ending note, thank y'all for tuning in, man. You know what it is. Subscribe at Patreon/The Trendaholic if you want to see more of these videos. If you like them, support us so we could do a spin-off and do more things like this. But yeah, you know, you can follow JB at BZ860 on all platforms, preferably Instagram. And
Yes.
you know where I'm at. So until next time, folks.
Let's go.